listening to Practice on Purpose, where physicians can explore how to set up their career on purpose from the very beginning to stay connected to their purpose for their entire career. I'm Dr. Nicole Eull, a health psychologist with decades of experience in healthcare, from the front lines of a level 1 trauma center to the leadership in one of the largest healthcare systems in the country. I'm passionate about physician well-being and creating mentally healthy workplaces. If you want to thoughtfully establish a career that aligns with your values and passions and ensures a long and rewarding life as a physician, then you've come to the right place. Today, we're talking about innovation, medical research, and entrepreneurship, and many other things. Our guest today is Dr. Mari Mitrani. Dr. Mitrani is a physician scientist passionate about regenerative and preventative approaches to help improve patients' quality of life. She's developed multiple groundbreaking products and taken several therapeutic treatments through FDA approval. She is recognized as a top 100 healthcare leader for her work treating COVID-19 and is a passionate advocate for minorities, women, and animals. Welcome, Dr. Mitrani.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thanks for the introduction and the invite. Thanks for having me here.
We're excited to talk to you today. I just want to give you a chance to start off, just kind of introduce yourself in your own words and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I always get a little like, who am I and what am I doing? Because I think from a career of almost 20 years after I graduated from med school, it's like, wow, I've been able to accomplish so many milestones. But at the end of the day, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a learning being. I learn every single day. So I'm curious at heart. I would say that that's who I am. But yeah, we can explore all the things that I've done that are very exciting in medicine, because I've been at the forefront of medicine for this past 20 years.
Okay. And you, I like to start off by talking about people's early careers. So let's go back in time. Let's bring it back. Yeah. And just tell us a little bit about you. You are a research physician, and I'd love to hear why you chose that specialty and what you did your first few years after graduation.
Yeah, I mean, I say I'm a nerd, a proud nerd at heart. So I love to study. I've always been exploring different things in different ways. I am from Ecuador. I went to med school in Ecuador. And my dad is a physician, and him and my mom run a clinic, a day clinic. So I was always exposed to this new way of doing medicine, which is preventative medicine. He focused a lot in nutrition and different types of treatment therapies to, he sees from pediatrics to geriatrics. So I was always exposed to this new way of thinking. And I think that's what I did in my early stages after I graduated. It was like, I thought I was going to become a clinician. The med spa, I was running the med spa for my parents. So I was really into the aesthetic world. And that is what kind of sparked a little more interest in other things, right? So I did the OMD, the acupuncture route. I recently have done the nutrition route as well. So I'm always trying to learn more things. But in the early stages, it was like, I really thought I was going to become a clinician. I never thought I was going to be a researcher until stem cells landed, the project of stem cells landed in with us. And I was like, what is this? Like, if we learned about stem cells in med school was not even a 30-minute disclosure, right? More in like the oncology, hematology oncology side, right? But from that point, 20 years ago, we never heard about stem cells being done. Besides, you're until today, they're collecting cord blood stem cells for a future project. But from that point on, at that point, I didn't know anything about stem cells, and I was like, this is so fascinated. And I think life just put that project into my roller coaster, and I just went with it. Looking back, I was like, I don't know at what point I made that decision, but I owned the decisions that I made every single time.
I think a lot of us are like that. I think a lot of people feel like they have a path picked out, especially when you're as driven as you need to be to get to medical school and then to stay in medical school. And so you have these paths, you have these ways that you think that life should go. And then suddenly something can happen that just changes your focus or helps you to see another possibility, or you sort of see that things have been building in small ways across maybe different avenues of your life. So what did fall into your lap? What was the story of that? How did you said it sort of came to this project of stem cells, but what was that
Yeah,
story?
so my my dad as a physician has a lot of different friends, and with my husband we were into medical aesthetics, and
Mhm.
one day meeting with my parents physician friends, he was a hematologist using autologous stem cells, which are stem cells from the patient's own body.
Mhm.
Because he was a hematologist, that's kind of like the only one approved way to use stem cells is for, as I said, blood derived cancers, where
Mhm.
you would eradicate the entire uh, all of the blood cell lines and then repopulate with stem cells after that, right? So him being a hematologist and doing those treatments regularly started exploring of how to use autologous stem cells in people that are not that don't have a cancer diagnosis but are
Mhm.
in some kind of pain conditions and other types of conditions. And we were having this discussion, and my husband and I, working in the US market for the aesthetic side, we had all the clients, he had all the protocols, and
Mhm.
my dad had the facility in Ecuador. So
Mhm.
we said, let's just join forces and start studying what this is. And again, fast forwarding this 20 years later, and in the United States, an autologous stem cell treatment is fully approved, right? Back
Mhm.
then, we didn't even know that we had stem cells in our own body.
Wow.
So it was like we went from, hematopoietic derived stem cells from the bone marrow and starting doing the protocols that this hematologist was doing. And, we saw, we called it miracles, right?
Mhm.
Because there was such a change in people's quality of life.
Yeah.
I'm always warning people, is like, they want to see stem cells as the miracle that will cure it all, but I always rephrase it as it will improve the quality of the
Right.
patient's whatever condition it is that we had navigated. So
Mhm.
once we saw all of this, not one or two scenarios, but hundreds of scenarios, I said, this really needs to be focused on serious academic research. So we have to, tag along with different universities to be
Yeah.
able to replicate this and not be considered as one more out of the US facility that's doing this kind of
Mm.
treatments. We have to nail this correctly. And, as a physician, and I love regulatory for what reason, I don't know. I just love to follow regulatory, because if you can follow regulatory and prove it correctly and prove it to your
Mhm.
scientific and medical community, then there is no questions asked, right?
Right. And as our society ages, I think this is so important. So many of these things for quality of life, because we are living longer, but our parts of our body still aren't cooperating. Right. And I have my parents both live in a retirement community, and I know that stem cells are huge there. People are always talking about the opportunities there and what procedures they're thinking about getting. And I think that people are really valuing this contribution and how it can increase the pleasantness of the quality of your life, right? So that you can be around for a long time, but you can also be still moving and feeling good and pain free, or at least alleviate that pain. So
Absolutely.
you decided to move your focus to the U.S. You were in Ecuador at the time, and you started a company. Is that the right order of events?
I mean, I started the company before it was our company that we started. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So
Mhm.
that's the only way I've seen the world, right? I've
Mhm.
always worked only for myself because I've been that's what bred me, right? Like that's the only example I've had is my parents working on their own company, my uncles working on their own company, my grandparents doing their own thing, and yeah, and I met another entrepreneur that like that's how we started working and created our own company, and so for us has always been, it is ours and we're going to build it, and how much work can we put on this project. And for, as a physician, we are like very focused on what we're doing. So, give us a project and we will get it done. So, yeah, I mean, moving the company, the company had gone through different stages from, a private company in Ecuador to a private company here in the United States. And once research started growing, we actually took the company public. So we had for 8 years, we were managing for 8 years a public company.
So you have, I think this is such a great story. And one of the reasons I wanted to feature you is because people, I think, sometimes get a medical degree and then have other passions, whether that be in technology, medical devices, innovations and research, pharmaceuticals, whatever that may be. And they feel maybe that they are letting themselves down or abandoning that education. Whereas I see you as someone who sees this as that was a foundation for really great and amazing things.
Absolutely. I never knew that you could pursue a career in this. Like most of the things that I do, yes, I am attached to the scientific and medical decisions of everything that I do, but I am managing a company. So I'm mainly, running a company, right? And very attached and so grateful for the education and all the knowledge that I have, because I can sit down with CEOs, I can sit down with people that have very intelligent conversations, and not only can I keep up, but I can explain exactly how our project is working, because I know the ins and out of one, running a company, and two, understanding the medical and scientific background of the product that I'm developing. So, not too many people can hold both sides of the conversation. So I think and we need more people. I'm going to say we need more women. We need more minority communities representing and being sitting at those at the table, right? At those very high. Those conversations that make decisions and that will change big things.
So where would someone learn that? Because clearly you already came in with medical expertise. Did you learn the business and regulation side from your family, or are you just scrappy and you figured this stuff out?
Yeah, I think I learned the ethics from my family of like showing up to work every single day and managing. I see my mom, I call her, she's the COO of that place, because she managed the places, and you see red flags all day every day, and the ability of managing everything at one time with a smile in her face, that's what I learned from her. But entrepreneurship is not easy, because you hear more no's and you see more failure than successes and yes. But it is the grit of showing up and just coming back. You have to be so determined and so empowered by your why and the force of why did you make that decision, or why do you think that this will actually change the world, to just say, okay, I'll cry a little bit, I'll shake it off, but I'm standing up and I know this is going to change the world. And I think that is what kept me going, right? And keeps me going, because the projects that I participate on is they're not small projects, because I really think that every single one of us can change the world if we are determined and put really hard work on.
Yeah, and I think I do in a lot of my my trainings. I talk about if you're not falling, you're not trying, right? Because my husband would teach my son to ski. He would fall and he'd get frustrated, and he'd say, if you're not falling, you're not trying. So I think that that's so important, just to understand that you will fail, you will have frustrations, and that you have to keep moving. So one of the things that you have gone through that is very rigorous and very complicated is FDA approval. So I know that that must be very demanding. So how did you face that big challenge and not get overwhelmed?
Well, overwhelmed, we are.
Maybe
We
you did get overwhelmed.
Of course, no, it will be crazy to say that you don't get overwhelmed with a
Mhm.
project so big. But this is the things that I've done throughout my companies is make sure that I'm surrounded by great scientists, that
Mhm.
I have great regulatory team in place. So it's, even though my name is featured as and I was the chief scientific officer and co-founder of that company, I had a lot of people with a lot of knowledge doing their job, right? And I
Mhm.
think having a great team is what would make you successful. So taking the time to understand who your team is and
Mhm.
letting go of the ego of I can do everything, because you
Yeah.
cannot do everything, you cannot know everything. And I think that that is what made our company so successful, and there's no other company that has achieved that amount of approvals in that amount of time, with the with FDA giving us 30-day approval.
Mhm.
So but it was a lot of hard work before to prep, because we had to have a lot of information done before our submission. Also, being there at the right time, the right place, COVID opened up the opportunities for regenerative medicine to be presented.
Mhm.
There was a governmental decision to tell FDA to approve anything that is well done.
Mhm.
So I think that opportunity opened not only the door for us, but for a lot of regenerative medical companies that had serious science done. And it was, I still remember where I was when we got, first of all, when we got the approval, right?
Mhm.
Which happened in 30 days because our science was so robust.
Wow.
We were studying lung injury models for COPD. That's the route that we were doing. And our models was in bronchopulmonary dysplasia with neonatal rats with University of Miami. So we had spent a lot of time working on this lung injury model when COVID happened, and the arts, like the way that arts was giving the lung that inflammatory response
Mhm.
was very similar to what we were studying. So we just presented, we were doing everything for COPD, but we just shift everything and presented it for COVID infection,
Mhm.
for that acute respiratory distress syndrome, and that allow us to really go for COVID patients that were,
Mhm.
first, we didn't, it was so early on. It was May 2020. So imagine, like, the infection just happened. It was already declared a pandemic. The medical and scientific community didn't know much of what COVID was. What were
Mhm.
we facing? A lot of people were dying. Our drug had a potential of being super anti-inflammatory, therefore
Wow.
help the immune system to fight it and not go into that cytokine cascade, which was the one that was killing people. So that opened the door for other scenarios, like emergency approval per patient. We did like 20 patients under that. Was so fortunate to train ICU chiefs throughout the country on the protocol, on the drug. They've never heard this. They, like,
Yeah.
as a physician, as physicians that are in ICU, they manage drugs from right to left, but never have they heard of a regenerative medical product that can be
Mhm.
used. And so we started publishing all of our clinical cases, and that led us to different states of COVID. And then long haulers. The long hauler scenario is one that continues to be there. There's so many patients with long hauler post-COVID. And after all of that, once pandemic was already rolling and not finalizing, but it was still rolling, we were able to submit for our COPD trial, get the approval, and our osteoarthritis of the knee trial, and got approval.
But this is so important because you were willing to be flexible. You're willing to pivot to go with where the energy was or the need was. You could have persisted and said, oh, that's too much of a risk, or that's uncertain, or this is also new. I don't want to take that risk. But you were willing to take the risk. And because of that, you found a different path, and it was, and maybe you saved lives, So I think this is so important to focus on, and just, commend you for being willing to take a risk, right?
Yeah, I think that is definitely what defines me, taking risk. But taking risk, it's a calculated risk, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not just saying, hey, let's see what happens. There was so much data that we had, and therefore why our approval happened so fast. It was not just the FDA saying, okay, this is okay. No, they are worried about patient safety. So if you don't answer all of the questions the way they need to be answered because you have all that data to prove it, they will never approve it. So many companies tried after 2, 3, 4 years to present very similar product in projects, but they didn't have the team. I always go back to my team. My team was being able to select a team so qualified was definitely one of my accolades, because they're the ones that kept us afloat.
Sure. So you then, after all of this, you came up with a separate product that is in a separate company and is a more diagnostic product. So I'd love to know more about where you got that idea and what impact it has.
Yeah. So after having 5 IND approves, and the company, as I mentioned, is a public company, continues to do incredible work. We stepped out of management of that company, and taking a break from that world. It was a casual afternoon having lunch with a friend when he said, I've always been interested on this and that, and I would like to shape the world of this and that. And I was like, okay, give me a second to think what we can do. And I was like, now I know we can work on the genetic side of fertility. I was not trained in genetics. I was not trained in fertility. But I've set up enough laboratories in the past for the cell world, stem cells and cell growth and all of that. But I was like, I can do what I have done. So I'm more than happy to take on this project and really see how far we can go. And it's been 2 years, and the project is a phenomenal project because fertility, I did not know the epidemic and the future pandemic that we will have of infertility. So 1 in 5 couples in the United States are infertile. Wow. And that is alarming.
Yeah.
That is incredible. There's so many countries that are aware of the infertility problem that we are having, that they are starting to promote more and more couples. They're paying them, they're giving tax credits. Even China, that once had just the 1 single kid, right, went to 2, and now it's open as many as you can, because there won't be a young amount of society that will keep the entire economy afloat. So it's a project that it was, again, extremely powerful. The mission and the vision was extremely powerful. And in a matter of 2 years, that project has lifted and taken off also.
What does this do? What is this product?
So this is specifically is a laboratory what it started, right? We are counting the genetic component, or the DNA, the chromosomes of embryos that have been fertilized by IVF. So I think if finally we are making waves on the information that's out there for infertility and for couples that are infertile for ABC reasons, going down IVF, which is their only and final way of achieving this dream, you can collect your eggs, right? You can collect your eggs and fertilize them. So then you have embryos that will grow. You know, the percentage and the ratios from how many eggs you collect to how many embryos will be viable is it decreases, right? So if you collect 20 eggs, you won't have 20 embryos that are ready for implantation. And now these type of laboratories that I have set up are helping determine if those fertilized eggs have a correct amount of chromosomes. I'm trying to put it in the simplest terms, right? So we call them, yes, we call them euploid, right? So all of us, we have, and I love to be didactic. So mom gives 23 chromosomes, dad gives 23 chromosomes. Every cell in our body has 46 sets of chromosomes, right? So that's what this laboratory is doing, counting if in a little biopsy of this embryo that was fertilized, that embryo has those 46 chromosomes. So this has happened in the past, let's say 10, 15 years, that technology has allowed us to have sequencers where we can analyze these cells, a little biopsy sample of cells, to be able to count and say, okay, this, and for a lot of families that know that they have a genetic problem, or they're carrying one is a carrier and the other one is a normal parent, right? So they know that if they do this, they will be allowed to just implant the embryos that are euploid, meaning that embryos that have 46 sets of chromosomes that don't look like they have a genetic abnormality, right? So it is this new tool that we have, because it's finally that we have the readers that are not these massive ones as before, right? It's like smaller. The PCRs are quicker, and that we can actually run this kind of diagnostic in biopsies of the embryos.
So you have all of this going on. You have all these business ventures and other things, but you're also someone of many passions, and particularly you've been speaking out against or for minority rights, women's health, animal welfare. So how do you find time and how do you choose where to channel your energy to maximize your impact?
I think that we have 24 hours, right? And even though I'm very focused on my business, we all have to understand that we have to recharge and recharge. So for me specifically, I found that going to the gym, being able to lift heavy weight, and understand my purpose of being, it's very important. So having time to meditate, having time to do breath work, having time to really focus on projects that make my soul happy, right? Making sure that I am taken care as well. I'm not going to say that I am not one that burned out. I did, because there was a lot of work to be done. But those things bring me back joy, a lot of joy. I think as a woman, as an immigrant, as the only female that has always been in those serious tables and conversations that have moved the needle, I've always felt so isolated and so underrepresented, and it feels awful. So it's like, we need more. We definitely need more people. And now, for example, we know that med students, 50% are female and 50% are males, but the ones that will get into C-suite and, like, who is going to be in charge, female don't get to jump up that ladder. And it's time for us to do that. So I am loud. I'm loud and proud to be loud.
So you're trying to get some company up there. That's what you are. You don't want to be lonely anymore.
It's amazing. It's amazing how women can change companies. It's amazing
Mhm.
how women lead because
Right.
we lead with compassion.
Hmm.
And it's very, very different how males lead. And
Right.
it's only fair and it's only time for us to have our point of view taken into account. Our
Yeah.
cycles, the way that we do things, the way that we mother and we can be executives, the way that we can come up with projects that are based on actual purpose and not only I'm going to make money. I think the world needs more of us for sure.
So not only are you involved in business building in the medical field and saving lives, you also are a co-producer of several documentaries. So how the heck did that happen? What's the story?
It's my so I am vegan and
Mhm.
I am vegan for the planet. I'm vegan for the animals. I'm vegan for our health. Um, and the vegan side of me, which is a lifestyle, is not a diet, right?
Mhm.
Trying to do the least amount of harm. That's what veganism is. And I've been fortunate we are a small community, not only in the US, but throughout the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have found that making documentaries is one avenue to just focus and see what is there that we can do.
Sure.
And I was fortunate to see this project from the beginning because I'm connected with a vegan community. And damn, some of them are like really thought provoking, and it's like
Mhm.
when I looked at my at my closet, I was like, oh my god, I was so um, I was a hypocrite, but maybe I was a
Mm,
hypocrite because I didn't know.
sure.
Now that I know, I can make better choices. It just breaks my heart every single time I get to see that footage. And you have to be able to see it because if you are eating and drinking milk and eating cheese and yogurt and ice cream and all of that, you are paying for that. So it's like, for me, it was like, okay, here it is. This is the reality. And if you are paying for that, you have to be able to see it. So that is why I'm so passionate in the vegan community and what I I, I help produce
Mhm.
those films. Assistant producer, associate producer. It's one of those little names that come at
Yeah.
the end of the movie.
You're not just someone who's the see if you see something, say something. You're more of a if you do see something, do something. You're very proactive. So I really
Very.
commend you for that. So you are an immigrant. You mentioned that before, and you mentioned that in our previous conversation. How do you think that has enhanced or shaped your work?
Yeah, the same as being a woman
Hmm.
in a male dominated field. Um, Coming from a different culture and seeing the world with different eyes just gives you a different perspective and
Hmm.
therefore can help you navigate scenarios in a different way. So I think it's just interesting how we all have a different way of seeing things. If we all were seeing black and white, there was no space for the rainbow, and it is beautiful. Every color is so beautiful that we should consider those in our careers, in the decisions that we're making, in the community that we're leading,
Hmm.
and the people that we can impact around us. So I think being an immigrant has given me more than taken away. I know that there's so many immigrants and immigrant parents that had it so rough to come to the country that they kind of shush their kids in a way of like don't even speak the language or things like that. I am so
Hmm.
proud of being who I am because I know my roots. I know how important it is to speak not one or two or three languages. I'm on my task of my fourth language right now. So
Whoa.
it's like there is so much more that we can add that it can subtract from us.
So that's so amazing. I think I talk a lot about in some of my workshops about being a cultural contributor rather than a cultural fit. And that a lot of
Oh, it's
times,
beautiful.
and when I was working in academics, and they'd say, "Oh, this new resident, I think or this med student would be a good cultural fit." for our program. Whereas I'd say, well, what are they contributing? What are they bringing? And how are they going to help us grow and be different and be better? So anyway, just kind of like to think about that. And I hope other people continue to use that. So I ask a few closing questions to all of my guests to just pass on your wisdom. So the first one is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to an early career physician?
Um, Early and later in life, I think finding your why and your
Mhm.
purpose. Why
Yeah.
did you make the decision to do this? Some people want to be doctors since they are 5 years old.
Mhm.
It didn't come to me until I was, I think, in 10th, 11th grade in high school. Um, but I was like drawn to something, right? And
Yeah.
through med school, my why kept shifting.
Right.
And through my companies, my why keeps shifting. There is a big main goal, which is try to help as many humans as possible, right? And
Mhm.
that is so strong. It's a light that is brighting, it's like so bright, right? It's shining so bright that I think finding your why, it's one of the most important things, because there are dark days.
Yeah.
Going through
Right.
med school is not easy.
Mhm.
And knowing that there's a community out there of your fellow friends, of your fellow physicians, of fellow
Mhm.
mentors that would be there to pick up the phone when those dark days come, because it's ugly. It gets human hurting. It's ugly, and going through the system is ugly, especially again for women, especially for minorities. I think we don't have it in our advantage.
Mm. So
So
what advice would you have given to your younger self?
to keep going, to
Keep going. Yeah.
every single step that I did, it was the correct one.
Mhm.
Even when I thought the world was ending, that allowed me to shift and repurpose. And
Yeah.
if that failure was not a failure, I wouldn't discovered anything. So I do drive through the motto of, the faster you fail, the faster you will adapt and learn more. So I
Yeah.
that is that, and it sucks to fail. Nobody wants to fail. Society taught us that failure is the worst, but it actually have to start failing fast and quick, because that's the
Mhm.
only way you will learn, adapt. And then it goes back to being a scientist, right? There's no scientist that has ever nailed experiment on the first time.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think your setbacks, your challenges in life make you who you are, and they made you resilient, and they made you persistent, and your ingenuity and all those things. So I think that's part of the building blocks that build us up, right, and make us who we are. So what are you loving in medicine right now?
I I'm loving how we're highlighting more and more women that have
Mm.
made contributions. I
Mhm.
feel that finally the women that have been put aside and forgotten are being remembered and being at the forefront. Um, yeah, I'm excited for everything that's happening. Medicine and science just grows so fast in such a
Yeah.
short period of time that it's so difficult to be on top of everything. But yeah, innovation is, especially with the introduction of AI, I think that
Mm.
this is the biggest leap that we will see now in this generation. So the healthcare and AI will be, you know, this next big advancement, because our human brain cannot decode as fast as with the
Right.
help of AI. So we will start seeing real big innovations very soon,
Mhm.
in the medical and scientific world, I think.
I think a lot of people are afraid of AI. They think it'll replace clinicians, but I don't agree. I think that
Yeah.
it will enhance our ability to be more accurate, that we'll be partners, in that way.
Yeah. I see it as, like people were afraid of the internet, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I
Here
don't
we
know.
are.
Sometimes I'm still afraid of the internet, but it is,
But
it also has changed our lives.
it changed our lives
Mhm.
fully. I think there is no way of going back.
Right.
So we have to start being afraid of this. I think it will be more positive than negative. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong and will go wrong, but like everything, right? But I think for medicine and science, the amount of impact that it'll have, it's already surpassing what we think it can do. So I am extremely excited for that.
So what's next for you? What's your new next thing?
I am definitely going back to the cells, my world of cells and exosomes. I don't know if you've heard the term of exosomes, but we discovered, and that is all of my projects use the messengers that the stem cells produce and use them instead of the cells themselves. So it is the future. There has been a big boom on the aesthetic side, but I love the therapeutic side. And I'm definitely embarking, hopefully soon, in different projects that will include that, and others that they're brewing. So, I'm excited for what is coming right now. I'm like in a little pause, taking some time and just dreaming up what the next project will be.
Okay, well, we look forward to hearing about that. I wrote down a few points that you made just because I thought that they were important, just to be surrounding yourself with the support teams that is as smart, if not smarter than you, taking calculated risks and taking time to recharge were sort of your secrets to success. So thank you so much for sharing all of that and your story, which is so different and interesting. If someone wants to learn more about you, where should they look?
My website, dr-mari.com. I'm very active in social media, Instagram and LinkedIn. So let's connect.
Okay, great. So thanks so much for joining us for this chat. We hope this show has you thinking about your own career and what actions you can take to make it ideal for you right from the start. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and tell others to join us. We greatly appreciate your reviews and comments, which help us grow to a wider audience. If you want to stay in touch, email me at practiceonpurpose@heyinfluent.com. Let me know what topics you want us to explore in future episodes. And remember, build your practice on purpose to stay connected to your purpose. I appreciate you joining us on this journey. Let's keep exploring together. Until next episode.